As Hajin rode toward the hospital with Nayun on the back, he experienced overthinking. He realized he shouldn't have kept delaying. This was something he had to do, but he didn't even want to think about it. Why did it have to be him doing it? Wasn't there any other way besides killing Chai Jin-yoon? But, this wasn't something that should be delayed just because of silly considerations like that. Hajin paused for a moment. He could feel Nayun's crying behind him. That was the reason for his hesitation, but for him, as the writer of this novel, he had the duty to kill Chai Jin-yoon. After riding for a while, they finally arrived at the hospital where Chai Jin-yoon was being treated. Upon arrival, Hajin then told Nayun that they had arrived, but, seeing Nayun who remained silent as if possessed, Hajin confusedly called her, but Nayun didn't respond to his call at all. Seeing that, Hajin then repeatedly called her while snapping his fingers in front of her face. His action succeeded in waking Nayun. Hajin then asked if she was okay, if she could stand. Nayun answered weakly with a yes. Hearing that, Hajin then returned the motorcycle keys to her and asked where the rest of her family was. Nayun replied that they would be late because they were traveling abroad, but that reason didn't convince Hajin at all, because in this world there was technology called a portal that could travel across countries in seconds. But Nayun insisted on that. She explained that being an important person like her family didn't mean getting everything they wanted. After that, Nayun then looked at her hands and felt a bit strange. Her body couldn't stop trembling. Maybe it was due to the shock she got from receiving news about her brother. Realizing Nayun's condition, Hajin then asked if she could walk on her own. Nayun answered yes. After that, they then walked together into the hospital, and when they reached the entrance, they were greeted by a male servant of the Chai family. Seeing the servant, Nayun anxiously asked where her brother was. Hearing her question, the servant then pointed in a direction and said he was over here, but, he then noticed Hajin's presence and immediately asked who he was, and before Hajin could answer, Nayun then told the servant that he was her friend. Hajin froze for a moment hearing that. Nayun informed the servant that he was the one who brought her here, so she asked him to let him come in with her. Hearing that, the servant said he understood and allowed her request. Hajin could only stay silent while clenching his fists tightly to calm himself as he faced that. After that, they then headed to the consultation room to meet the doctor treating Chai Jin-yoon. The doctor, in amazement, told Nayun that this was truly a miracle. Judging by his tone, it seemed even he was very surprised by this. Full activities weren't allowed yet, but he would know after seeing his condition himself. They had told her he would wake up after 4 years, but since he had just regained consciousness, his memories were still unorganized, but his recovery was so fast that he might regain everything within a month. Nayun couldn't hold back her tears hearing that. Years of waiting had finally paid off. After informing her of that, the doctor asked her to please only meet him briefly today. She could see him again the next day. Hajin felt uncomfortable at that moment. It was like sitting on thorns. He also questioned himself why he was here, and the worst part was when he saw Nayun's happy yet relieved smile upon hearing the doctor's words. After getting confirmation from the doctor, they then walked toward Chai Jin-yoon's ward. Only Nayun and Hajin entered. While waiting outside, the servant told her he would return after visiting hours ended. Nayun remained silent hearing that. She just stood there and didn't immediately walk toward her brother. With a hopeful gaze, she looked at the brother she idolized. She then tried calling him. Chai Jin-yoon, who heard her call, slowly opened his eyes. With a happy face and a smile, Chai Jin-yoon then looked at her and greeted her back. Nayun couldn't hold back her tears seeing that. What she had been waiting for all this time finally came true. She then quickly ran and hugged her brother. Chai Jin-yoon chuckled at that. He then repeatedly stroked his crying sister's head. The scene looked very heartwarming. Chai Jin-yoon felt melancholic seeing his little sister had grown up. It had been 4 years since he fell into a coma. He then asked Nayun if she had gotten used to using the bow, or as she promised, if she had found something she wanted to do. Hearing that, Nayun asked in surprise and joy if he still remembered that promise. Chai Jin-yoon answered yes. Nayun smiled widely and told him she had returned to using the sword. That fact was both surprising and delightful for Chai Jin-yoon. He then asked if she was serious. Nayun confirmed it. Chai Jin-yoon was happy to hear that. He also said that whatever she did, it would surely be the best for her. After finishing their conversation and reunion, their gazes then turned to Hajin. Nayun then told Chai Jin-yoon that she would introduce him to him. He was her friend, the one who helped her realize something she wanted to do. Amidst Nayun introducing him to Chai Jin-yoon, the person he intended to kill, Hajin didn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, At the Chameleon Troop headquarters, the boss and several members were there. Now, and as the boss was reading a book, her attention was immediately diverted when Jane called her. Jane casually informed her that Chai Jin-yoon had woken up, so, she then asked if they were really going to carry out the plan. The boss remained silent facing her question, but Jane, knowing the boss's personality, could only sigh in resignation seeing that. She realized it was already decided. She then hesitantly asked if they could do it with their current numbers, even if the one executing the plan was Kim Hajin. Hearing her doubt, the boss told her there was no need to inform everyone, they would carry this out with as few members as possible. Jane sighed again hearing that. She realized this might be the only way to recruit Kim Hajin, but she still had doubts because she felt the risk was too great. They didn't even know why Kim Hajin wanted to kill Chai Jin-yoon. Moreover, they could turn that old man into an enemy. The boss fell silent for a moment hearing her reasoning. She then dismissed her words. She explained that Chai Jin-yoon's mana core, which served to store mana, had been destroyed long time ago. The boss asked back if she thought that old man would pity Chai Jin-yoon, someone who could no longer be a hero and whose condition was already like a living corpse. Of course not. That old man wouldn't feel pity even if it were his own grandson. Chai Juchul was always like that. He might even welcome it joyfully. He would gain the world's sympathy with his grandson's death. Jane could only scratch the back of her head hearing her explanation. She wasn't too sure about that, because they were the first to cut ties with them. But, Jane then asked if she didn't think Kim Hajin's behavior was a bit strange. Even Yoo Jin-hyuk, a money lover, said he wouldn't take this job, so, wasn't that odd? He was someone who would handle anything a client asked as long as he was paid. But why did he only refuse jobs related to Kim Hajin? When they contacted him and asked him to investigate Kim Hajin, he seemed to avoid it back then. This made her suspect that Yoo Jin-hyuk had already dug into Kim Hajin's past. Perhaps he avoided this job out of fear of the consequences, meaning Kim Hajin had a special past, something that could endanger someone. The boss seemed to think when hearing her assumption. She felt her assumption made sense. Hearing that, Jane once again asked what they should do. Should they request additional information from Yoo Jin-hyuk? The boss said that wasn't necessary, they would check using another information guild. Jane laughed hearing that. It seemed the deal with Yoo Jin-hyuk had ended here. She said she understood and had sorted out some good information guilds. Falling Blossom, that was a new guild that had recently shown, only half a year since its establishment, but its reputation and results were excellent. The boss was quite surprised hearing that. She knew Jane's standards were high, so she was shocked that she rated a guild only half a year old so highly. Jane said guilds with such prowess were rare nowadays. Besides Falling Blossom, she also found another good one. That was a website called Truth Agency, a website that prides itself on being able to answer everything.